Remember, duck and cover.
Hello, Steve. How's the husband-to-be?
Other than having no memory, I guess I'm alright.
All right. You should be ecstatic, considering what you're getting into, if you haven't gotten into it already. Speaking of which, I heard Stephanie was grounded. Her daddy's worried about getting his meat. Though if I were him, I'd be more concerned about Stephanie getting some meat.
Right. And you are?
You always were a kidder, Steve. I'm Mr. Johnson, remember? Glad you stopped by. Just got finished waxing the tucker. I could use a little relaxation. But since Edna's not here, I might as well talk to you. Edna Fitzpatrick is one of the snootiest women in town. I declare there isn't a woman in Harvest that turned me away. If I was interested, that is. Just because she owns DNAs, she's got all these highfalutin ideas about independence, and her with a little girl to raise. That child needs a father. And Edna, well, she needs a good hard penis.
What makes you so sure she needs a penis?
You saying Edna's getting it from someone else? Like maybe that damn Sheriff Dwayne? He's over at DNA's diner every day from noon to 1, eating his dadgum pie. And I got a feeling he'd like Edna for dessert. Sure, it's the only diner in town, but I'm sure he's got more on his mind than food. I'll admit DNA's diner does good business. But money isn't everything to a woman. Can money keep you warm at night? Can you wrap your thighs around it? Or rig bloody gases in its back with your painted hollow fingernails? Edna! Edna! So, how's Stephanie? Speaking of Stephanie, I still haven't gotten an invitation to the wedding yet.
I don't have anything to do with that.
That's okay. Personally, I'd prefer a pass to the honeymoon. You could use the back seat of my Tucker for the maiden voyage. It's plenty big, believe you me. I'd drive you around, and I wouldn't look in the back seat, I guarantee it. Though if you'd like to come up front and take the wheel a while, I wouldn't say nay. Heck of an automobile, isn't she? Damn shame I have to sit out here and watch over her all the time. But if I didn't, those stupid kids might scratch her up playing ball. Hell yes, it's real. I wouldn't be so protective of her if she was just a reproduction. I'm mighty particular about my Tucker. I had the garage remodeled like a fortress, so I could lock her up at night and get some sleep.
I'm sure she's safe enough inside.
A few months back, someone broke into my house, trying to get into the garage. I had to gripe like hell before the sheriff agreed to start the evening patrols and instigate the curfew. Edna Fitzpatrick is one of the snootiest women in town. Karen's only 5 years old. Since Mr. Fitzpatrick passed away, in Edna's arms and legs, I might add, Edna's been raising Karen on her own. What a shame. To deprive a little girl of a positive male role model, and her mama of a fine, stiff penis.
What makes you...
You see. Bye now. Sorry, Steve. Too tired to talk right now. I just gave the Tucker a... Bye now.
Stephen.
Who are you?
I am Daniel Moynihan, mortician and proprietor of the Wayward Hotel.
Most people ask me why I don't remember their names.
Well, you always were a kidder, Steve. Besides, as one who deals with the dead, I try not to involve myself in the affairs of the living. Your loss of memory is of no concern to me, true or false. Ironic, considering my recent involvement in a charity event.
What are you talking about?
My complaints were central to the scheduling of the upcoming Harvest Bake Sale. I'm gratified the Order of the Harvest Moon got involved. The proceeds will certainly help cover my losses. This bake sale is a joint effort of the Harvest PTA and the Order of the Harvest Moon. The proceeds will be used to set up a fund for transients. In other words, bums and societal rejects without families who wander into harvest uninvited.
Then, the Order is setting up shelters for the homeless?
Not shelters. Graves. You see a great number of these hobos die while passing through. Don't ask me why, it's what those people do. Use your common sense, Stephen, memory or no. If they were involved in setting up homeless shelters, then why would I be involved? And why would I be sustaining losses? As always, the Order of the Harvest Moon has taken the lead in addressing our societal ills. Through their sponsorship of the blood drive and the bake sale, the lodge ensures that all our needs are met.
Neat. Such as...
Pardon me, there are corpses to prepare. And my losses have been substantial of late. If you're sincerely interested in the Order, however, You should stop by the lodge and speak with the sergeant-at-arms.
Why should I be interested, Mr. Moynihan?
Of all the spots in Harvest, the lodge is the most prominent, literally and figuratively. It is the ambition of everyone here to join, and join you must to attain wisdom.
What kind of wisdom?
If I knew, I'd be a member. I have the feeling you have what it takes to join the Order, Stephen. We all believe that. Whether or not you live up to your potential is up to you. It seems that, like some elephant's graveyard, people of low station come to Harvest to die. They simply drop dead, penniless, and they all need burials. God knows, by putting these people up at the Wayward Hotel, I do more than my fair share. So why must I pay for the coffins and burial materials as well? My losses to the dead are substantial. Hopefully the bake sale will offset some of them. This bake sale is a joint effort of the Harvest PTA and the Order of the Harvest Moon. The proceeds will be used to set up a fund for transients. In other words, bums and societal rejects without families who wander into Harvest uninvited.
Then, the Order is setting up shelters for the homeless?
Not shelters. Graves. I'd say it's been a pleasure. Young man, we really have nothing to say to each other. I have the feeling your image shall soon adorn my slab, and I'd rather not know the face of the meat I'm slicing. You're spouting gibberish. I'd say it's been a pleasure.
Please excuse the mess. They've done wonders with the upstairs bedroom, but this garage defies color coordination. Sorry, Steve. After I'm through here, I've got cleaning to do. Rush, rush. Don't bother me, I'm sketching. Oh, look what you made me do!
I don't converse on the job, Steve.
Hello, Steve. Welcome to the House of Flame, as we like to call it. Oh, cut it out, Spots, honestly. Once he gets barking, a good piece of meat is the only way to shut him up. There you go, Spot. So, Steve, bet you don't remember me. Heard about that short in the old wiring. I'm Fire Marshal Sparky, head of your fire department. Don't be silly. Everyone thinks that amnesia kick is a scream. Well, you always were a kidder, Steve. Besides, it's my job to keep abreast of developments in the community, to better serve you, the public. I'm sure you'll be thrilled when you learn of the many civic improvements we have planned for your fire department.
Such as...
Well, don't tell any of the others, but I've secured a bolt of the most divine mauve material. I've hidden it because, well, if any of these Marys got a hold of it, it'd be gone in a jiffy. So I'd rather keep it hush-hush. I'm going to make new drapes for the firehouse, and if I have any left, cross your fingers, I'm going to make everyone matching mauve pillow cozies.
Those are civic improvements.
Don't be such a party pooper, Steve. We're talking about art. Besides, we haven't had a fire in Harvest since the newspaper building burned down. Though I'll admit that the Wasp Woman's place is one big accident waiting to happen. Isn't that right, Spots? Some people think all we do is sit around, sketching fetching examples of manhood for our own amusement. Nothing could be further from the truth. Why, just the other day we cited Tetsuo Crumb for fire code violations. All those dried-out paper wasp nests clustered around our wooden house, why, it's a chem log just waiting for the right faggot. Believe me, none of us wants to see another fiasco like the Sentinel fire. A dreadful affair. You wouldn't think that a brick and steel building with a sprinkler system could go up that quickly. Art enriches the community, Steve. No less than a pulsing fire hose or a fireman beating down a blazing door. So what if we're drawing a nude man? So what if all we ever draw is a nude man, or the same nude man over and over in all sorts of provocative positions? Context, not content. Process, not subject. Don't be so ghost, Steve. It's beneath you.
7835, code 6, 105 North Avenue.
A dreadful... Oh, please. Dwayne was glad enough to see the thing go up, and so was McKnight. If you could get into that safe in his wall... Forget it. Look, Steve, as far as I know, the fire was an accident. Let's just leave it at that. Now don't you go moving. Bye-bye.
I don't converse.
Sorry, Steve. After I'm through here, I've got cleaning to do. Rush, rush.
Hello, Steve. Let me introduce myself. I'm Sheriff Dwayne, and this here's Loomis.
Pleasure, I reckon.
Then, we haven't met before?
Of course we have, but I heard about your alleged amnesia and figured I'd play along. I sure hope this is just a prank, and not the start of some insanity plea. Keep your nose clean, or you'll wind up in jail, and that's no place to hold a wedding. Why do you want to break your poor mama's heart with all this amnesia bunk?
I'm telling you the truth! Why won't anyone believe me?
Well, you've always been a kidder, Steve.
Yeah, so everybody keeps telling me.
Boy, you need to stop all this funning and get serious. You've got a wedding coming up soon. Heck, you should be thinking about your career and about joining the lodge. I don't mind telling you, I'd never get anything done if not for the lodge's efforts. To join the Order of the Harvest Moon is the highest dream of everyone in Harvest. Like I said, unless you get an application on the first day of the month, you're generally out of luck. Stop by the post office and talk to Postmaster Boyle. You never know. He might have a spare application laying around. Amnesia or no, you can't have forgotten you're about to marry the prettiest little thing in Harvest. I think you and Stephanie are perfect for each other. I just hope her father's disappointment doesn't spoil everything.
Disappointment?
Mr. Potsdam wants to hold the wedding in the lodge, but he'll never get in. Like all the rest, he's always hanging around the post office the first day of the month, waiting for Boyle to bring out that month's lodge applications. There's always a long line, never enough applications to go around, and even if you do get an application, chances are you're right out of luck. Fewer called to the order and even less accepted. And Potsdam, well, they've turned him down so many times, unless he does something radical, he'll never get in. Crime-wise, nothing much has happened in Harvest since the newspaper fire. Oh, sure. Every week or so we get the odd transient dropping dead, but other than that, it gets pretty slow around here. We get a lot of bums, drifters passing through Harvest. Those people are never very healthy to start with. I figure they come to our fair town, look around and decide it's a nice place to die.
You mean they drop dead here on a regular basis?
Like flies. I'd slap 'em all in jail if I could, but there's never enough room. Besides, they're pretty good about not sticking around long. Sure, it's a burden on Mr. Barnahan, though, having to bury them all. I only hope the PTA Lodge bake sale will help out along those lines. Oh, I forgot. You've got amnesia. Mr. Moynihan operates both the Wayward Hotel and the mortuary. Kind of a double burden for the poor man. transients always wandering in and looking for a place to crash, then croaking.
Maybe it's not a coincidence.
You mean a crime? Oh no. Moynihan's charity only extends so far. He won't check them in, but he'll sure check them out quick enough. He figures if they can't pay for the room, to hell with them. But if they can't pay for the burial, it's hell for us. What with the smell and all. I guess you can't say too much against Moynihan. What with him letting you hold the wedding in his mortuary chapel and all. Amnesia or no, you can't have forgotten your
Disappointment?
Mr. Pop. And there's always... I don't mind telling you, I'd never get any... That's the stupidest thing I mean, boy. Stop on by any time, Steve.
Anything I can help you with? Help yourself. Speaking of which, you're real lucky to be marrying Stephanie. She don't look like a good woman. I just hope she don't turn out like Mrs. Loomis, or mercy forbid Mrs. Phelps. Good women can be awful hard on a man's needs, don't you know? Why, you sure ought to appreciate what a man's got to do sometimes in a parked car, or a waist-high knothole in a tree, or jail cell at noon. Matter of fact, Mrs. Phelps got no reason not to sell you some of them French postcard girly picture books. If you can get any, and see clear to part with them, bring them round when the sheriff's at lunch, and I'd be obliged. Of course, I don't necessarily mean French postcards. That's just what we called them in my day. Any kind of girly picture book, the kind men like, would be just dandy. I'd be right grateful, kiddo, if you were to bring me one. Mrs. Phelps down at the general store don't help things none. She's got them special picture books, the one with the ladies. But she won't sell me none on account of she knows my wife, Mrs. Loomis. Dadgum if that don't burn my britches. If and I even ask about him, she tells Mrs. Loomis and I get the broom. Enough to break a man's heart, her burning my French postcards and me unable to replace them. A man's got needs, don't you know? Anytime, kiddo.
No.
Oh, heck. Why should you be any different from the sheriff or Mrs. Loomis? Steve, I'd be right obliged if you could just see clear to bringing me just one of them books. Believe me, it'll be worth your time to do it. Anytime, I'm sorry, I don't... Anytime...
Boy, stop on by. That's the evidence room, where we store items lifted from crime scenes. It's kept locked at all times. There's things in there that could make people jump through hoops, if I wanted.
Stay tuned, buckaroos. There's more to come on Range Riders Cowboy Roundup. So don't go away. And what's your name, hombre?
Steve.
Steve's a swell name. My dog's name is Steve. Would you like my autograph, Steve? Here you go, then. Violence? What about it? Violence is as American as apple pie and low SAT scores. Where would we be right now if the cowboys hadn't gone out west and butchered innocent people to steal their land? Answer me that, Mr. Know-It-All.
But what about studies that have shown that children become more violent when watching violence?
Buckaroo, I rip the guts out of godless heathen Injuns. Most kids don't see godless heathen Injuns on a regular basis, and if they do, they better either get their eyes checked or do like old Range Rider and shoot the bejesus out of them, lest they want to go untreated for psychotic hallucinations, or wind up with their scalps hanging from a buckskin belt. Oh, shit! Ow! Shit on a stickaroo! The parents that are griping about violence on TV are the same parents that go outside in the morning to fetch their papers, secure in the knowledge that they won't get an arrow through the noodle because the violence they hate so much done cleared the Injuns out of the neighborhood.
Yeah, civilization has benefited from violence. But should violence be treated as entertainment?
Check my rating, son. Violence is entertainment. I just put it on the air. If some kid watches, that says something about the kid, not me. Now, excuse me, we're going back on the air. Violent? What red-blooded American doesn't? Nothing like an exploding head to get the blood pumping. Literally, that is.
Even so, do you think society pays a heavy price for the violence in the media?
Of course they pay a heavy price. Just look at the net profits. They'll line up around the block to see a good slaughter. Now, excuse me, we're going back on the air. Can't talk now. Violent? But Buckaroo. Oh! The parrot.
Yeah.
Check my... Now.
Hey, Sport. This is a private office.
Yeah, I know, Mr.
McKnight. I own and operate this station. Have you brought me some news for tonight's broadcast, or...
I've lost my memory. That's news.
The hell it is! You always were a kidder, Steve. Any real news to tell me?
Actually, I was just wanting to know more about the TV station.
Hey, WHAR is the only television station in Harvest. Since the old Sentinel went under, what with the newspaper building burning down and all, we're golden. Nobody competes with us, Sport. Hey now, Sport, that's an irresponsible allegation. I had nothing to do with that fire. Just because WHAR may have benefited from it and I danced on the ashes a little, doesn't mean I torched the place. You can ask Sheriff Dwayne if you have any doubts.
You seem awfully touchy on the subject, Sport.
I'm touchy when people try to muscle their way into my business. I'd appreciate it if you'd leave my office and don't come back. Don't hurry. Don't hurry back. Don't hurt.
don't hurry.
Good of you to drop by, big guy. Haven't seen you since graduation. A lot of changes, I hear.
You could say that.
Good, good. That's a nice part of my job. Turning fine young men and women out into the world, and then watching them prosper. Of course, I was able to reach more people at the old Sentinel, God bless her. But then again, I never got to see the results of my work up close before.
Who are you?
You know very well I'm Mr. Harold, the principal of Gain Memorial. Steve, I've heard about this amnesia nonsense. I had hoped you'd be in the lodge by now, fine young fellow like yourself. But now, I think maybe you need a little more quality time.
Why do you keep calling me big guy?
A sign of respect, lad. As principal, my station is higher than yours now, but you never know what the future holds, so you should always hedge your bets and pay tribute to your inferiors. You never know who will come to power, or who, even now, wields it behind the scenes. For all I know, you might already be a member of the Order, with access to the lodge. If that were the case, you'd be my superior, and I'd be all that much better off having shown you respect and spent some quality time with you.
What do you mean, quality time?
Some, like Miss Whaley, favor stern discipline, corporal punishment, as a means of socialization. Myself, I temper discipline with love. Quality time can be such a warm, sharing experience. After just a few sessions, you'd stop this amnesia nonsense and become a productive member of society and a fit candidate for the lodge. Big guy, barring some quality time, the greatest gift I can bestow upon you as your former principal is a word of advice. Join the Order of the Harvest Moon at any cost. Within the lodge lies your future, and without dust. Surely mine is the most important position in Harvest. The ability to mold young minds. That's power. You might think Sheriff Dwayne's the most important man here, big guy. But he only deals with my failures. When I do my job right, the sheriff never sees a thing.
Why do you...
And big guy, barring some quality time, the greatest... Surely mine is... Drop in...
Goodness, class, this is Stephen. He used to be a student here at Gein Memorial. Say hello, class. They're reticent. The educator's greatest problem today is the apathy of the students.
What's wrong with their heads?
I can tell you in one word, Stephen. Discipline. Thank goodness you weren't a sulky bear. You were always a smiley bear.
Then, you remember me?
Not as such. So many pupils, Stephen. They come and they go. But I can always spot those who were nice boys. You can tell from the forehead. the lobes, right, class? I'm glad you stopped by, Stephen. Would you care to say a few words to the class about civic responsibility?
Not really. I was just passing through.
Oh, but you must, Stephen. A positive role model might be just the thing to inspire these little monsters. Stephen, have you any questions for me? Or shall I continue with class? Ask away, then. We don't practice corporal punishment here. I've never believed in that old adage, spare the rod and spoil the child. A rod is too thin. But a baseball bat? That bridges the generation gap quite nicely. Oh dear, Colonel Monroe is conducting another air raid drill. Everyone into the hallway, quick!
If an A-bomb hits, what good is it gonna do to duck and cover?
My stars, that was exciting.
This lodge, what do you know about it?
The building itself, like Harvest, was constructed with a specific purpose in mind. That noble intent is known only to those within the Order. You're at about the right age to join them, Stephen, and you will do so if you care about your future. We don't practice corporal punishment. Oh dear. My stars, that was exciting.
Can you tell me anything about Harvest?
Harvest was founded by the Order of the Harvest Moon about 100 years ago.
For what purpose?
Why, I'm sure you'd have to ask them. You'll find the members of the Order at the lodge.
Can you tell me anything about Harvest?
Harvest was founded by the Order of the Harvest Moon about 100 years ago.
For what purpose?
Why, I'm sure you'd have to ask them. You'll find... Stop by.
Steve, how's your father? Is he better?
About the same, I guess.
He's been away from work for weeks, and when I call your house, your mother won't let me talk to him.
I haven't seen him either.
This is a fine kettle of fish, I must say, though I am glad to see you taking an interest in the business in your dad's absence.
Who are you?
Oh, Steve, I didn't want to believe that amnesia hokum. Now you're saying you don't remember your pal Pat O'Reilly? You may come to realize that this business is not for everybody. Just ask your poor, ill dad. It takes dedication and a strong stomach. A lot of times, when I'm finished scrubbing up and digging the bits of intestine out from my fingernails, I must confess I don't have much appetite for red meat. But red meat is one of the principal food groups, and you've got to have it. So when you can do this all day and help yourself to a juicy red steak afterwards, then by golly, you can call yourself a butcher. Of course, amnesia would certainly help that, wouldn't it? What exactly is wrong with your dad?
I don't know. I can't get in to see him. Come to think of it, I don't see any cattle around here. Where do you keep the animals?
Does it matter? The end product is all the customer cares about, Steve. And we only carry the finest meat, only the juiciest cuts. Once you take over the business, you'll realize the importance of maintaining quality while cutting costs. We know what we're doing here, Steve. If we didn't, would the lodge use us to cater their affairs? Your father's very particular about the profit, Steve. No freebies for anyone. But seeing how you're his son, if you'll bring written permission from your father, I'll give you the meat.
Look, I'm not kidding about the amnesia. Why won't anyone believe me?
Well, you always were such a kidder, Steve.
Funny how that's beginning to sound like a stock answer. Like it was coached.
You sure are acting like a kidder, son. With your dad ill, you're gonna need to start behaving like an adult, especially if you're gonna take over the family business. You may come to realize that this and a strong stomach. A lot of times, when I'm finished scrubbing, I must... But red meat is... Then by God... Of course, amnesia... Don't be such a stranger, Steve. Hand my best to your dad. Can't talk now, Steve. Don't be such a stranger, Steve.
Can I help you, dear?
Who are you?
This is Phelps General Store, so who would that make me? Maybe you need to go back to Ging Memorial and have Miss Whaley teach you about logic.
I'm fuzzy on a lot of things these days. My memory's gone.
Pshaw, you always were a kidder, Steve.
I'm serious, I need some help.
Well, they say a sharp blow to the head is a good thing for amnesia. In which case, I'd recommend Miss Whaley again. Then again, they say a good scare can jog the memory. In which case, I'd advise you to visit the Sergeant at Arms over at the lodge. That man gives me the willies. Speaking of willies, how's your father?
Don't know. Haven't seen him.
Care to buy anything today? Just point to whatever you...
I told you I'm busy, Steve. Why don't you talk to Hank or go next door and visit Stephanie or go get an early start on your new job?
Hank? That kid over by the television?
Your little brother is homesick from school today, and I won't have you scaring him with this amnesia poop.
Is he really sick?
Look at the show he's watching. Wouldn't you say he's sick? I'd make him stop, but oh, I'm so busy baking cookies for the Harvest PTA Charity Bake Sale. It's on Friday, you know. I hope you're still planning on going.
I don't know. I need to think.
Honestly, skipping out of a charity affair. What's gotten into you?
I don't know, damn it! That's what I'm telling you!
Don't you dare use that language around me. You're lucky your father didn't hear you. Or Stephanie, for that matter. How do you think she'd feel knowing her fiancé was a guttermouth?
And just who is
Don't you dare toy with that sweet girl. If you start in on her with all this amnesia poop, she'll think her fiancé is having second thoughts about the wedding.
Fiancé? This is insane!
Oh, you're not having second thoughts about marrying Stephanie? Is that what this silliness is all about? Pre-wedding jitters?
Can something like that produce amnesia?
Stop this foolishness right now and count your blessings. Stephanie is great at cooking and cleaning.
What's cooking and cleaning got to do with anything?
Honestly, boys are so dense. What else is there for a wife but cooking and cleaning? You may not appreciate a hot meal on a clean plate when it's there, but if it wasn't, we'd hear about it soon enough, I'll bet.
You're saying that's all there is to marriage? Cooking and cleaning?
Well, you'll have to ask your father about that, but I'm sure Stephanie will do her duty when the time comes. Bless your innocence, but there are you can't know what I'm talking about.
My father.
He's in the other room.
The big...
Never.
But...
That's what...
And then... What?
Well, I have...
But...
Oh.
What charity is...
It'll help. You have...
I don't...
You will.
Tell me...
As...
Why is that...
It's...
What law?
The Hall of the Order...
What's...
Harvest. That's wonderful, Steve. If you got into the lodge, you'd be the talk of Harvest. Harvest is a town unlike...
In what way?
I don't have... Don't forget to...
Oh, man.
That's far enough, my four-legged friend.
Four-legged?
How long are you going to torment me? You have 2 legs to spare, but no! Llamas aren't like that! They don't care! They don't love! Stay away from now on. Stay away, or so help me next time I'll rain on everybody's goddamn parade! Son, I've got more important...
Sorry, son. No time. Next time you post, don't...